Mario Kart 8 Deluxe's final wave, being Wave 6, releases in just a couple of days, sending Mario Kart 8 Deluxe off on its final farewell, and finally we might be able to enter a new era of Mario Kart shortly after. But with that said, of course there is that chance. There is that just one last thing in the back of my mind saying, what if Nintendo says... Now look, I'm not saying that this is something that I would like. I'm saying that it's time to actually move on to the next Mario Kart game. We've been on Mario Kart 8 for almost a decade, so it is definitely more than time to move on, and I felt like this DLC was made simply due to the fact that Nintendo needed more time with the next Mario Kart, and it would be easy to port over some of these tracks into Mario Kart 8 and actually get paid for it as well, while they still work on the next Mario Kart for the next couple of years. So yeah, I mean, in reality it makes sense, but yeah, for more DLC to come out, I would be actually amazed. But the more I sat here and thought about it, I said, you know what? This is actually more than possible. So my prediction is that the next Mario Kart game is actually not going to be released until around 2025. I think next year is saved for the big open world 3D Mario game for the next console. I'm still on that belief. I know some people don't agree with me, but it is what it is. I just feel like that's the way they're going to end next year. And then we probably won't see Mario Kart until around holiday of 2025. I mean, honestly, I will even go out on the limb and say there's a chance it could even be like early 2026 before we see the next Mario Kart game. I think it's going to be a couple of years after this releases, because this is going to be a lot of content from Mario Kart 8 that can tie us over for a while without giving us a super huge gap. So with Mario Kart not coming out until around 2025/2026, what is the odds that Nintendo adds more waves? I'm going to say very unlikely. I think they need that large gap to still work on the next game, and I think they need a gap to just kind of give us a break for a while before entering that next game. I just find it hard to believe that Nintendo would come in with a Mario Kart 10 shortly after all of this DLC. It's just like Mario Kart goodness nonstop. I would love it, I'm not complaining, but it would take a lot away from Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. And a lot of people that haven't bought the DLC yet would probably be like, why is this new Mario Kart game coming out already? And the DLC's just dropped. So like, yeah, I think it's going to be a bigger gap, but with that gap, I think there still is a chance that Nintendo adds not multiple waves, but one final wave on top of what we already have. I'd like to add that there are 55 tracks that are still not in Mario Kart 8, so they could easily make a whole nother booster pass if they wanted to. But obviously, there's a lot of tracks for at least one more wave. In fact, if Nintendo wanted to utilize as many tracks as they could probably squeeze this thing out to like 13 brand new cups if they wanted to. The reason why I say it should just be like one ultimate wave or one ultimate cup at that, because lots of the tracks that are part of that 55 weren't super good. I mean, lots of these tracks would be very boring for a lot of people, and I think people take it for granted that the fact that maybe their favorite track still was not included, but at the same time Nintendo added some really amazing tracks, lots of fan favorites, tons of Mario Kart Wii tracks. I mean, they did their thing. So lots of these tracks that were cut are in fact kind of bland in comparison to the ones that they picked already. So yes, as there are some big ones missing, there's also some ones that just don't make sense for Mario Kart 8. So I feel like an entire brand new booster pass full of some very, very average tracks would make people complain a lot. They'd be like, why didn't you change these that much? They would have to put a lot of work into these tracks, which just isn't worth it, especially if there is a new Mario Kart on the way. Yeah, like I said, maybe instead of like a Wave 7, they just give us a Ultimate Final Cup. Obviously, we ended pretty big with Wii Rainbow Road, which is a pretty great one for a lot of people, for the majority of Mario Kart fans. But what if they ended instead of just with that great track, but instead a final wave that's dedicated to the players? Maybe Nintendo even gives us like a little poll like they did with Smash Bros. 4, where we can actually vote for the final tracks and what we could actually get. Nintendo lets us choose which ones to pick, and then maybe like sometime in the middle of next year they release them as like a fan favorite pack. That wouldn't really slow any development for the next Mario Kart, I feel like, because a lot of these assets are already in tour, for crying out loud. And like I said, the remaining tracks out of the 55 that are like fan favorites and really good would probably only be like 8 to 10 tracks. So I think making one final wave, having fans vote for their favorites to end this thing would be really cool actually. Now I'm going to throw up 8 tracks that I think would be deserving, and of course just, you know, that's just my picks. You are completely free to replace any of the tracks that you want. I just know these tracks are very popular with a lot of the community, and I've seen people talk about them and wish they were in this game. But I also want to quickly say, no, I'm not complaining, because I know people are going to be in the comments saying that I'm complaining and I'm ungrateful. That is absolutely not the case. I absolutely love everything that I've seen in this game. I love all the content that we've gotten in Mario Kart 8. It's absolutely incredible how many tracks we have in this game. So not complaining, more along the lines of just actually wishful thinking about what Nintendo could actually do to actually add another bit of content into the game before it heads out. Now, I'll slap together a list of 8 tracks that would work really well for a final wave based on what I think is a lot of fan favorites and really good tracks that would be ultimate. So, straight up, Mushroom Bridge from Double Dash. I believe a lot of people enjoy Mushroom Bridge. It is a classic. It is a really fun one. I know we have lots of cities, but Mushroom Bridge had great music, an awesome bridge that you can go up the side, and some fun little shortcuts thrown in there. I would also throw in Dino Jungle. It's one that a lot of people love with all the dinosaurs everywhere, going into the cave and trying to take that shortcut over the mud. It's a really good one as well. Now, the DS is where we're going to get tasty, because there's a lot of things here that should have been included. I would have thrown in Luigi's Mansion for sure, because how in the world is Luigi's Mansion not in this game? It just makes sense. I would also throw in Delfino Square as a huge Sunshine fan myself, and I've actually found out recently that people actually really love this track. I didn't know, but that's great because I loved it too. Once again, we have lots of city tracks, so I understand why it wasn't added, but still would have loved to see it here. And of course, my baby Airship Fortress. One of the best tracks I think in Mario Kart should have definitely been here. And I think this one is just a resounding pick from everyone around the world. Mario Kart Wii has a ton of tracks, but I believe the only one that makes the most sense is, of course, Toad's Factory. Toad's Factory is one that people have been bringing up for a while now, and it's one that just hasn't gotten enough respect. It hasn't come back in Tour or any future installment, so it's just kind of sitting there on Mario Kart Wii, and we're not able to play it, which, yeah, it's a unique factory-themed track, and I think it's a really good one that definitely deserves to return. And then I think it makes sense that you have one of the, you know, Wii Sports Resort ones, whether it's Maka Woohoo or Woohoo Loop. They're both really good, and maybe they combine them and make one super long track or something, but definitely one of these should have been in the game. With a game full of different characters and franchises and getting represented, like, you know, Splatoon and Animal Crossing and Zelda and even F-Zero, they definitely should have allowed this track to be a playable, raceable track. It just makes a lot of sense, and it's sad that this track is just not going to return. And finally, it came down between two. It came down between Wario's Coliseum on the Nintendo GameCube and DK Pass on the DS. Both of these being really good tracks and both heavily loved ones as well. I love Wario's Coliseum for being so wacky, like a giant cage inside of a circus. And then you also had DK Pass, which was a really cool snow mountain track, which could have made a return as well. But any of these would definitely be worthwhile. So I think those would make for a great Ultimate Wave. Definitely let me know in the comments down below if you think those would be good or if you would add or change any of that. But yeah, overall, I don't think we need more waves. I don't think we need another pass. I don't think we need like a part 2 or anything like that. I think if we did get anything at all, there is a small, super slight chance that it could be one final like fan-picked wave, giving the fans exactly the tracks that they want, that they're missing, and then ending it. But odds are, I think Nintendo's done. After 2 years of DLC for a game that came out almost 10 years ago, it's really time for it to end, and it's time for us to move on to the next Mario Kart. I know this is something that a lot of people agree with too, but I just had to throw in the fact that there definitely is a chance that this could happen. You know, it's Nintendo we're talking about. But with Wave 6 coming in the next couple of days, let's just be excited and let's all enjoy this final wave one last time before the DLC initially ends forever until we move on to the next Mario Kart experience. But thank you so much for tuning in. Stop what you're doing if you enjoyed this video. It helps out so much if you leave a like and subscribe. Let's see how many people we can get to like and subscribe from this one video, and I'll see you all on the next one. See you guys.